Hi guys, welcome back to We Should Talk, a pop culture interview series from In the Know. I'm your host Gibson Johns, and this week on the podcast we have Kyle Cooke and Amanda Batula from Bravo's Summer House. Kyle and Amanda are a couple. They've been mostly together, sometimes off, since the first season of the show when they were hooking up, and now they are engaged, and they have been engaged for several years now because their wedding was postponed, I think multiple times because of the pandemic. But I got an update on their wedding, which is going to have sort of 2 iterations this year. And we also obviously talked about all things season 5 of Summer House. We also talked a lot about Loverboy because this interview was sort of simultaneously pegged to Loverboy and Summer House, which I find really interesting because as somebody whose mom and dad are in business together, I think it's really, incredible when a couple can make it work both personally and professionally. And Kyle and Amanda have never been better personally and also professionally. Loverboy has really taken off. Amanda is sort of the branding marketing person behind it. She spearheaded their merch efforts, which have been like insanely popular and insanely successful. And they have a ton of different drink products also coming out. So we talked a lot about that. We also talked about sort of the glimpses that we get of them working on Loverboy and everyone else in the house working on their different professions this season of Summer House because they aren't leaving. And so we're seeing more of that work hard, play hard situation all under one roof, as during the week they take conference calls and have meetings and we get little glimpses of that. And so I find that actually really, really interesting. And I think it's awesome that Kyle and Amanda and now also Carl have been able to build this brand out of the show that isn't super attached to the Summer House brand. It's pretty separate, but it works. And I think, it's just going to continue to build from here. The branding is really amazing. So Amanda does a really amazing job on that. And it tastes great. At the beginning of the interview, you'll hear we popped over in some Loverboy spritzes and we might have had 1 or 2 throughout the interview and gotten a little loose. So when we got to the Summer House of it all and talked about the Kyle and Hannah of it all, Kyle didn't want to talk about it that much because it's clearly kind of a sensitive area for him. But he said his piece, as did Amanda, and it was really interesting to hear about her comparing her friendship with Hannah and her friendship with Paige, because they are such a duo, and for a little bit they were sort of like a 3-person group, but it's definitely changed from that, and so to hear her perspective on that was really interesting. We also talked about Lindsay and her kind of relationship struggles, her breakup with Steven, and then also sort of Luke of it all. There's rumors that Luke and Lindsay hooked up, and sort of maybe some fallout from that with Kyle and Luke. And then we also talked about Carl, who, he came into the season as in such a great place. Carl was like, it seemed like he had been, new life had been breathed into him. He was a new person. He was mostly sober. He was really happy and really just kind of like, he was exuding this light. And then, for him to have to go through losing his brother in general, but also in front of the cameras on the show while locked down in quarantine was really tough to watch. It was amazing to see everyone else rally around him, but it's clearly still something that they all get really emotional about, and Kyle got emotional during an interview when talking about it. But it's really awesome to hear about them rallying around him and continuing to support their friend during these tough times. And we touched on a ton of different things with Summer House, and so if you watch Summer House, which if you're not, you're making a big mistake, you'll definitely love this interview. I think Summer House is, if it's not the best show currently airing on Bravo, it is unquestionably the best show that centers around a younger cast. It has surpassed Southern Charm. It has surpassed Vanderpump Rules. And it's really just giving it to us. I think after those first 2 kind of pretty mediocre seasons, they did a big casting reshuffle. And ever since season 3, it has gotten better with each year. And this year, clearly being in quarantine, being locked down for 6 weeks together under the roof of a slightly bigger house was a good thing for them. And the good thing for the show. And it's a good thing for the drama. Those of us that love to, watch all this drama unfold, it has been wild and an amazing ride. And there's a lot more to come, clearly. So anyway, I'm going to keep this intro short for today because this is a longer interview. But don't forget to watch Summer House at 9 p.m. on Thursdays on Bravo. Follow Loverboy on Instagram, follow Kyle on Instagram, follow Amanda on Instagram. And please rate, review, and subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, so we're here with Kyle Cooke and Amanda Batula from Summer House, 2 of the faces behind Loverboy. How are you guys?
Fabulous. Didn't complain. Working hard.
Before we get started, I know we all have a can of Loverboy spritz. Mine is the passion fruit guava. We're gonna have a little ASMR moment where we're gonna crack these open into the mics.
Ready? Get close. Oh,
Mike.
There you go. Ours are warm.
It's amazing. This is my first Loverboy Spritz.
Wow.
So there's 3 flavors of the Loverboy Spritz, right? Is that right?
Yep. There is the blueberry lemon.
That was our first one.
Mango peach was our second. Kiss with chili pepper. So it's like our little take on a mango margarita without the tequila.
It's the spice. Okay.
You can like add a shot of tequila to that one. And then the passion fruit guava with honeysuckle.
Which is what we're drinking, which is amazing.
This is probably the sweetest of the bunch, including our teas. So the spritz is like a little bit more of an indulgence, right? Because it's a cocktail versus like a sparkling hard tea. And
but this is supposed to be like the easy thing that like if you're hosting at home or like you just want a cocktail but don't want to go to the bar and you like to watch Housewives like me, just like crack an espresso. Yeah, exactly. I don't need to go to the bar for a drink. I'm going to sit on my couch and then open a spritz.
Absolutely. So Loverboy, you had the original hard teas. And so are these the 2 sort of main kind of arms of the business right now?
Yeah. Think of it like this. So our sparkling hard teas have to be
like
sold.
Kyle.
All right. Yeah. They're like me. They're like colorful, playful, flirty.
Like you can chug them, you drink them like real fast.
They're also sold different channels, but I'll get to that. The spritz is more like
elegant, classy. We got like gold.
Got it. Hey, it's representing the couple at the heart of the business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But on the business side, our sparkling hard teas are sold through retail, like anywhere you'd find like a White Claw or Truly in the market that we're in. And we have to go market at a time just because that's how alcohol works.
We cannot sell the teas online unless they're like in every single Whole Foods.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's why we launched. One of the reasons we launched the spritz was we wanted a premium canned cocktail. The other reason we launched it was because we technically, believe it or not, this is technically wine based, even though you can't taste any wine. That allows us to sell it online to your doorstep in almost every single state. So this is like an e-commerce.
So this is something we wanted to do for everyone that like couldn't get the teas. We were like, let's come up with it. Instead of like changing the alcohol base, let's come up with a new product that's still Loverboy that we can like give to everyone like more immediately. And to sell it in store, the spritz would take just as long as the teas. So that's why they're like spritz is only online.
Yeah.
And then we focus on expanding the teas in stores.
That makes sense.
And you see like that obviously is no, that's a cocktail.
No seltzer. That's that's no White Claw.
Absolutely. So are you guys, and then, I mean, you guys mentioned on the show that Amanda, you kind of took on the merch of it all and sort of, I mean, obviously you're in charge of the marketing and the branding and all that, in the merch became this huge thing, at least, in the year between seasons 4 and 5, it seems like. Talk to me about sort of like when you saw that opening and sort of just going for that, because I see some of the merch that you guys are wearing on the show and it's so cute and it makes sense why people are really leaning into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So people just love merch. Like if you are a fan of a band or a movie or like a TV, like people just love merchandise. They also love to just like wear anything that has like, it's like their favorite sports team, right?
Right.
So we were at the time also in the middle of a pandemic where like sweats and like tie-dye and everything was like very hot.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of took advantage of coming out with like our own comfy clothing that had our logo on it, like giving people something to buy so they could like support the brand if they couldn't purchase Loverboy, if they didn't drink. I'm also, my aesthetic, one of our producers calls it like homeless chic. Where I wear like oversized, comfy clothing. I'm very much so like, I'm dressed up right now. This is never how I look ever.
Right.
So I was like, let me design stuff that I want to wear. So I started like finding designs, getting inspiration and creating things that I was making for me to sell to other people. And people were connecting with it, relating to it. They wanted it also. And it just kind of took off. So we kept going with it. It's like completely own business in and of itself. We've made I don't even know. I don't even know the numbers.
Well, that's when you know if you don't even know the number, that means it's a big enough number to.
Right? I'm just creative. I'm the creative. So I'm like, I have the vision. I'm like, I like this material. I like this design.
Right. Kyle, how has it impacted the business sort of? I mean, like, because it must have, again, we see on the show that like there are supply chain issues and there are all these issues sort of like because of the pandemic that are maybe having an impact on the sales of the actual drink. And so to have this kind of boost from the merch must be really important.
I mean, it's phenomenal. So, I mean, first of all, part of our whole thesis with this brand way back when we just conceptualized it in 2018, it's like we want to build a lifestyle brand. We don't want something that gets, you know, pigeonholed as like a hard seltzer or a hard tea or whatever. We want to build a lifestyle brand. One of the reasons we fell in love with the name Loverboy was just like, it's fun. It's kind of part of pulp culture already. And
if you're not a lover boy, you want a lover boy, like, you know,
it works both ways. Exactly.
A lot of different interpretations of what a lover boy is, right? So, and I think that's just the fun part. And, you know, when we started making merch, I mean, up until, the end of filming season 5, because you see Amanda, you know, packing up the merch,
right?
We were fulfilling all of the orders out of our apartment. And so part of the constraint in terms of how big we could grow that business was literally on our end and mostly Amanda. Like it was almost like we'd launch something and it'd be like this like burden because now she has to pack up 200 orders.
Totally.
Now, finally, by the fall, we launched with a print partner, Print Hub. What's it called? Print Hub.
Mm-hmm.
They do our own fulfillment.
They print the shirts. They like work.
Amazing.
With us. Yeah, everything.
Perfect. So that takes it off your shoulders in some ways.
Yeah, and that's
or a lot of ways,
like,
probably. Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like this season on Summer House, it's actually, I kind of love seeing these moments because usually on a past season, it would cut to you guys like in the city for 30 seconds, like bowling around, doing whatever. But now it just like shows you guys in your rooms. Like we get like the like 20 seconds of corporate jargon. It's like you on the phone, like, oh, I'm gonna circle back on that. And then we have Danielle like doing her finance stuff. And it's just like, and then we see Amanda packing up the boxes. And it just, I feel like we're getting like an even closer look at your guys' work thing. I actually really like that. I think it's relatable on a different level now.
Well, I was always like, wow, people actually can get an even better glimpse into, you know, the Monday through Friday version of
Absolutely.
Particularly me, because I'm like literally like the definition of a mullet. I'm on the weekend, I'm all party.
Yeah.
And then if you met me during the week or if we have a business relationship, you'd be like, wait, who's this guy on this TV show? Like you are all business. But
I do love that like you do get to see that glimpse into like how hard we actually work. I also love it for Danielle too, because she is the only other woman on this show that has a corporate job.
Right.
And works really effing hard. Her position is like higher than mine has ever been at my corporate job when I was, you know, working in corporate, and people get to see like how hard she works, how much her struggle is, like how much time she has to put into it. And that's kind of why she like turns off and then like turns on.
Yeah. And well, just to add to that, I had this theory and no one's ever proven it, but I was like, show me another Bravo show. This is before, you know, Amanda left her job to join Loverboy full time. Show me another Bravo show where there are two females or anybody for that matter with legitimate corporate, like international companies, like bosses to report to.
People that are reporting to us. Like, yeah.
It's impressive. It's impressive. And I think that was always sort of like the promising conceit of Summer House, which was like, it was this work hard, play hard lifestyle that I think a lot of New Yorkers can relate to. And I'm sure that other people can relate to it as well. But, you know, I think this year, because we were all suddenly working from home and then there was like that whole blending together, I think that kind of leveled that up even more. And I think if you think about Danielle, I agree. I think that like she clearly had to skip out on some weekends in past seasons because of work and other things probably. So like to see her there full time, but also get an appreciation for like how kind of her 360 life is, I think she's become sort of like a fan favorite this season in a really awesome way, I think.
I mean,
Danielle, she deserves it.
She had a whiteboard on the outside of her door to let us know like when she was available to talk to us. Like, these are the times my meetings are, like, this is when I'm free. Like, if you really need to speak to me, like come in at this time.
And it wasn't just
I love that.
For the cameraman.
Yeah,
exactly. I love that. That's so smart. Yeah, we never get to see that.
Like the girl works really hard all the time.
Yeah. So for you guys, I mean, just as a viewer and as somebody who covers the show, I was, at early pandemic, I was sort of just thinking about some of my favorite shows, and I was like, how are they going to do these shows, right? Like we were expecting Summer House season 5 to be filming last summer, and I think for a while I was sort of like, is this even going to ever happen? And then obviously it was great news when they decided to do like the quarantine version of the house. For you guys that are part of the show, what was sort of like that like mental roller coaster like for you of like, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And then once you sort of like knew what it was going to be, just talking about sort of like how it was mentally for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, early on, there was discussions about like basically quarantining in the house.
Yeah. Like right off the bat, it was like, we're probably going to do this like quarantine house. And then it was a matter of, will it happen? Will it not happen?
Mm-hmm. Because all it takes is one, at that point in time, all it takes is like one positive case, like basically turn the show down.
Derail it, yeah.
But what I think was probably more compelling was just, the network and our production company was just like, interestingly enough, even if we quarantine, we cut out, going back to the city, we cut out going out to restaurants and bars. 90% of this show was in the house in the first place. So
exactly
all the shows on Bravo, this would be like the least departure from what the show was pre-pandemic. And I think that's what excited everybody.
But it also concerned me because we went from like everyone being like quarantined and cooped up with like, their family and friends, like not leaving their homes and apartments to being, so it was just me and Kyle. And then all of a sudden we were in a house with like, how many other people? Like 6, 7 other people. And
8.
It was, now we were just like, okay, so we went from him and I, and now I have to be stuck with like, 8 of us, 9 of us for.
It's a huge difference. Yeah.
Like,
well, and that's the difference between Amanda.
No escape from each other. Like
I was like, yes.
You're excited for it, and Amanda's like, oh my God. Like,
she's like, I love this no social life.
Like, when will I be able to watch Bravo? Like, how?
I know. Well, Lindsay told me that Hannah and Paige are like watching all of Love Island on their laptops like the whole summer.
Yeah.
But for you,
but it explains a lot.
But so for you guys, okay, once you're in this house, how do you think it affected, the drama, how the season went, just overall? Because I think for me, the show again continues to get better and better with every season, and this is like this season's next level, just in terms of like entertainment value and then what you guys have. I mean, one of those episodes was only one day, and it was just like crazy what happened in that one day. For you guys that lived in the house, how did you think that affected it or not affected it that much?
I think that like normally when we filmed on the weekends, like we would drive back and like, vent out our feelings, decompress. Right. We would like, talk to each other, text each other on the phone, like privately, and like figure out our emotions, and then go into the next weekend with like a different mindset and wouldn't have to like hash it out, or like things would just be squashed. Mm-hmm. Where this summer, like you see the whole process of like, okay, someone had a fight or someone has an issue, and now they're talking about it and now they're working through it. Like there was no time to like separate. There was no like, safe space. You had to confront everything to that person as it was happening.
And obviously there's other shows like that, but just not on Bravo. Right. And
I mean, we lived in a house with each other. Like me and Hannah, for example, went like days with like awkward tension and not speaking. And then it was her birthday. I was on the phone with my best friend, like telling her like the argument that Hannah and I had and how it was so uncomfortable and awkward. And I saw Hannah walk down the stairs and we made eye contact, and I was like, hold on. And that's when I went in and I was like, Hannah, I'm sorry for throwing the cup at you. Like, happy birthday. Like not in that order, but like basically like
But you had to, to wish her happy birthday, you had to clear the air almost.
Yeah.
But to some extent, so first of all, we knew it was gonna be a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
But to some extent, it almost brought us back to like the beauty of like old school reality television, where people had to deal with in real time. You can't, if you think about other shows, hopefully no one gives me a hard time for this, but like they're basically scenes, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're going from one scene to another, because that's just how it's filmed. Like one restaurant here, a house party here, a coffee shop here. And there's time to like get your thoughts in order. Whereas what you're seeing here is just like, this is this is the real raw deal, because people don't have time to figure out what they're going to say, how they're going to act, or, does this person deserve an apology, or maybe I'm in the wrong? Like,
yeah,
Right.
I mean, my apology to Hannah was so like in the moment and like came so much from the heart that there were no big cameras around. Like we're lucky enough it was even caught on surveillance that they were able to show that like I apologized to her. Like
Right.
it was just very much so like I felt it and I needed to do it right at that time. I didn't care who was around. So it was very
So it does have it did have an effect. It really did have an effect on sort of how things played out, which I think kind of made for an even more interesting social experiment. You know what I mean?
right. I mean, this was like the crock pot of
Absolutely.
Summer House and Bravo. I mean, it's just like waiting to just blow its roof off.
Yeah. And Kyle, I know that you obviously, I mean, it's no secret that you and Hannah have had moments this season. For you, just like, how do you think back on what went down between you guys? Whatever. I mean, we're kind of still in the thick of it on the show, so whatever you really want to say about it. But I'm just curious, sort of where you stand.
In the moment.
What?
In the moment, like you really wanted like that friendship, and you really like believed her apology, and you were doing, going above and beyond to make sure that like you and her could be civil, because you knew how much I cared about her as a friend.
Which is why I like was biting my lip for weeks on end. I come into house last summer, just like I've come into the house every summer. I'm doing this with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And it never would have crossed my mind that we were anything other than that. And I think what you've seen is just like me trying to process the reality of like, maybe that's not the case. I wish Hannah the best. Whatever she thinks and whatever she's out there publicly saying over and over again, it's like, I don't really have much of a comment, to be honest.
Yeah, it feels like the things that we've heard and that we know, like are very contradictory to like what is being said or
in public, right? Yeah.
Even like to our faces versus to other people. It's
got it.
It's disheartening, but life goes on.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, and Amanda, obviously, I think that puts you in an awkward position, and we've seen that play out. And I think what's interesting to me is that, like, Paige and Hannah came into the show as a duo. They knew each other, and I think that they sleep in the same room together every season. But to me, it sort of overshadows the fact that like you and Paige are also extremely close. And I think that sometimes on the show, like, I don't know if this makes sense, but sort of like them as a duo overshadows you two as a duo. But at least I'm seeing this season that maybe it's Paige breaking away from Hannah a little bit more. It just seems like I'm realizing that like, oh, Amanda and Paige are actually like extremely close friends as well. Do you find that? I mean, how does that feel watching? Is that an accurate depiction from my perspective on it? I'm just curious. So that it's an interesting dynamic that I've seen play out.
No, I think that you're spot on. I think that, Hannah, Paige and I were like very close at one point, and Giggly Squad formed, right? And it became like this group chat between the three of us to like them talking all the time and me being on the outside. But Paige and I were able to like continue that like really close friendship, I feel like, where it kind of, what I thought was the same with Hannah, maybe she didn't interpret that way. But Paige and I just like get along. Like we are the same person. I joke around about it all the time that we buy the same clothes, but we style them completely differently. We have so much in common. Like she gets my jokes, like she'll hear me say something and she'll be the only one that laughs at it. And then, so it is, I think, Hannah and Paige have their own dynamic, but Paige and I have a friendship that goes deeper, and I think is very different. I don't know where Paige and Hannah stand at this point, but I just, know that Paige will be in my life forever.
That's good. That's a good way of putting it. So elsewhere on the show, I think a big thing, and somebody that you guys have known forever, is Lindsay's love life on this show. I think, I talked to her at the beginning of this season, and we talked a little bit about it, but I'm curious, sort of people that have known her, for a while now, what's it like watching her kind of go through these relationships? And, you know, we haven't seen one work out for her. And I think, you know, as somebody who just, I think Lindsay is such a great person and so fun. It's like, I'm curious who you guys think, like, what kind of person do you see Lindsay ending up with? You know, like who like is really like her partner?
Well, before we even go there, if you don't mind, like, first of all, obviously, like, Lindsay and I go back, and I texted her last night after the episode where she was talking about how she just pretty much broken up with, you know, Steven on the beach.
Yeah.
She did that interview, which obviously I hadn't seen until it aired, where she was talking about, I'm 34. Like, you got to understand, like, this is, I feel like I'm taking, I don't know what she said, but it's like, I'm taking 10 steps back, but I got to do it right for me.
Well, it's scary to start over.
And she said that very word. It's scary. And I was like, I love you. Like, this was like, I know it, people are like, oh, you're on TV, just, you know, wear it on your sleeve. But that was a very vulnerable moment, because it's a real thing that all women, you know, face if they're entering their mid 30s and, you know, they're not, you know, in a serious relationship. And I love her because I know she wants a family. I know she wants kids, but she also knows that, you know, you can't force something. And, you know, obviously I was upset that they broke up just because I knew how badly she wanted to be in a relationship.
Well, the other thing is Lindsay's a fighter. Like, she,
totally.
Her mother left, like, her brother and her dad at a young age. And she is someone who will always fight for love. She will always fight for that respect. She will always fight for her relationship. She will always like go to the ends of the earth to, like, she'll beat it to death, a relationship, until she's like, all right, it's no more. And I think that that's what happened with Steven, is that she is, you know, was putting in so much time and effort and, like, wasn't getting that in a return. And it was getting to a point where she was just kind of like,
like,
what do I do now?
They didn't have a lot in common, but I was hoping for, like, the yin yang effect.
Totally.
A little bit of what we have. Like, we're not, you know, carbon.
You complement each other well, though. Right.
Absolutely. So I was seeing how much work she's putting in, also seeing how much work Steven was putting in. But we kept on saying all summer long, they were like two ships crossing at night.
Like,
I saw that. Yeah.
What she was saying, she understood what he was saying, but, like, they couldn't meet on the same level. They were just like,
and that's why I cried. I was like, oh, like, those ships could have collided, and it could have been. Oh, that doesn't sound right, but
no.
They could have. I don't know.
Merged.
Two party boats merging, and exactly.
Yeah, they could have had a float party. And,
you know, I think I said too that, like, Steven was in the driver's seat and Lindsay was sitting in the passenger seat, and she was along for the ride, like, trying to give directions, and Steven was steering the ship. And it got to a point where Lindsay was like, "You're going the wrong way, bro."
Right. No, and I think that, like, I saw some comments on social media that are like, you know, her standard is too high. And I think that's, like, an impossible thing to say, because I think there is somebody out there that will treat Lindsay the way she wants to be treated and treat her like the queen that she is and deserves to be treated as. And that's just, she hasn't found that right man, you know?
And let's remember, Lindsay bakes herself her own cake and plans her own birthdays every single year. Every year she bakes an pineapple upside down cake. She plans the whole thing out. She's, like, hired, like, bartender. She's, like, planned her whole party.
Our first season we did a rodeo.
She has a boyfriend, a man that she wants to spend the rest of her life with, and just wants something, like, her standards aren't too high. It's like, do for me what I would do for myself.
Right. And totally. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Like, I think that's right.
Do more.
Although on that day in the summer house, like, Steven was set up for failure, because it could have been.
Because I told
it was on many levels a shitty day.
I said, Danielle, if Steven bakes Lindsay an upside down pineapple upside down cake. I don't know.
I think that's right.
Say it back. Like, that's going to mean so much, because she does it for herself every year. Like, just have him do that. And, like, that didn't even happen. Like that. I feel like that, like, you know,
I got both sides of it. But I couldn't help but laugh at Lindsay's reaction to that dinner. Like, her face, like, she lets you know with her facial expressions, and we all know.
I feel like she was
Lindsay in a nutshell.
Lindsay
absolutely.
Was like, again, Lindsay was like, I could have planned myself a better birthday party.
Exactly. Oh,
But-
Lindsay, she'll find someone. I knock on wood. I think it's gonna happen.
It'll happen.
It's
It just needs to-
I agree. And then again, like I don't know how much you guys can tell me, but there's something with Luke, and there are some rumors that got put out there last night. What can we expect from that whole situation? Because also Kyle, it looks like there's an argument that happens as well.
I want to ask you this, Gibson.
Yes.
Do you see, forget about like any history, past, whatever. Can you see like the potential of Lindsay and Luke hooking up? This is not like Garrett. Like, could you see that happening?
As in, like, is it a real? Yeah, I think so.
You could see
Like
them like getting
personalities
together.
and their
personalities, like, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And
Right?
they're both very flirty people naturally anyway. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I have no idea what happened and what didn't happen, but I think just as somebody who has watched this show since the beginning, it did not, when they did those couple flashbacks in last night's episode, I was like, oh, yeah.
Right?
Right.
I think that's right. Like, it would make sense. Like, you wouldn't be like, oh my God, no, never. It's like, well, yeah,
I think if you really think about it for like 30 seconds, it's not a total shocker.
I was like hammered.
and that's how I
when I
think we
found out.
felt. It was like, yeah, like maybe.
I see. Okay. So I got it. I kind of see where this is going.
When I thought about it more, like, actually, it was like, okay, well, Lindsay was dating Steven. Luke was in Minnesota, like, during the pandemic. Like, the timelines didn't line up,
Mhm.
but there was still a part of me that was like, maybe.
Here's why I didn't believe it. Because
Luke said no.
No, Lindsay is a big advocate for loyalty.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously gave me, the hard time that I deserved when I was unfaithful. And I was just like, in no way, I don't care how bad a relationship is with Steven, in no way could I like see a world in which she's cheating on him.
I agree with
the
you.
thing, right? It was
I agree.
I couldn't see that, but also forgetting about like anything else, I could still see them like hooking up.
Oh yeah, getting a little drunk and be like, whoa, I'd you.
Yeah, right? Like that was like the whole like mind thing. It was like I could see it happening, but also like I knew that maybe it wouldn't have happened. It was just very confusing. They're two beautiful human beings. Like, why not get after it?
And again, they both like flirt with you the second they talk to you. So that's just how they are.
Their hugs are a little too long.
like 2 seconds too long, right? Okay.
Like whoa.
They're both the type of person that's like you mistake their friendliness for flirting.
Right. Totally. The new addition this year that I'm loving is Ciara. I think that she brings this like whole different vibe that's like so laid back, and I think she really isn't afraid to just like tell it how it is, honestly, I think. And she's opening up well on camera. Like, what was your experience like with Ciara in this house as really the only newbie?
Well, I mean, Amanda got to know her a little bit better just because, females,
the girls are all hanging out
in the house. But from my perspective,
it would be weird for Kyle, who's engaged, to be like, so Ciara.
Well,
totally.
I had so much respect for her because you come into this like pressure cooker situation that was being filmed, and she just like I could just tell. I'm like, this is who she is.
Yeah.
And she was not playing any games.
Maybe she like held back a little, because I think we all do. Like, we're all like, like right off the bat. But she was like unapologetically herself. Like, she felt the emotions. She said what she wanted to say.
So mature too. Like, I was just like,
yeah, absolutely.
How old are you?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like 14. How many? Yeah, I'm like 14 years older than her. I'm like,
and she's a nurse that was doing all the crazy stuff during the pandemic. It's like she earned this time off. Absolutely. Like, I don't know. She's an all-star. Right before coming into the house, she had experienced so much death. Like, she was just working through the COVID pandemic at like, I don't know what was at one of its peaks, like right at that time, like before the summer.
She had pictures of like, where the mask just left these like
crazy.
And then she just comes into the house like this huge smile on her face, and it's like, yeah, I'm a model. And we're like, no, you're a nurse. Like, what? Like, she.
Well, I love that. I think her lower third, that's like nurse / model. Like, that's just like, that's legendary.
Probably the best one on Bravo of all time. Let's just.
That's really good. Yeah. That's really good. It checks.
her personality and like the way I connected with her, she has such a big heart. And she means like, she's a real
Totally.
down to earth girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's so much more of a nurse than a model. I think she cares. Her heart is in it more than her looks are. But she's
I love
beautiful.
that.
But she's
And it seems like Carl might make a play. Is that gonna happen? Or
I mean, I was kind of encouraging all the plays in the book for Carl. I was like, Paige, go
that, every season it's like Carl 3.0, Carl 4.0, Carl 2.5. He like goes back a step sometimes. Carl this season is like, this is the Carl that we've known and loved for so long. People see the drunk, angry side of him sometimes. This is the reason that like we have become such friends, and like Carl's been a big part of our life, because the man that you all get to see now is who we know he's always been.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys that, because I mean, again, Carl's been around for the show from the beginning. I think that he's had his major ups and downs. I think that last season was not a good season for Carl. And a lot of people, I think last season, I think people turned down on Carl just because, and I think he would admit that, and he would totally acknowledge that, which is, again, a huge plus for him to even acknowledge that. But it felt like he was in such an amazing place coming into this season. And it felt like a new person. He felt so refreshed. Like I cried watching him watch his mom get married. Like that was such a touching moment. And then we obviously find out about his brother, and that is the most heartbreaking thing. But the way that everyone rallied around him, I think, was one of the most encouraging things that I've seen in a really long time on TV. And it just felt really special, because this extremely sad moment became this not triumphant moment, but sort of a really kind of like come together, like pass through all the bullshit kind of situation. So, I mean, I just love as people who have known Carl for so long, it must just feel real special to watch him go through these huge life ups and downs, be there for him, and then watch him come out the other side.
I'm practically tearing up, because that was perfectly said. I mean, I am tearing up.
Before Kyle says anything, it feels good to have other people, like I said, see the side of Carl that we've always seen, see the good in him that we've always known. Like, we all have our flaws, but now like the parts of him that like we all love him for are coming through, and everyone else gets to see it. And that's why we're always like, we love Carl. People are like, why? And it's like, well, he's an amazing person, and now everyone gets to see how amazing he truly is.
And I also want to just add, like, look, he's been in some interesting situations just by way of
he hides a lot
like some of those, well, even on, during the summer, in previous seasons, with Lauren, last season where he was, actually going about dating with all the right reasons. He really wanted someone. And then of course, in between that, you'd have like, when he met Paige season 3, where he just like kept on dropping the ball. And as one of his best friends, you think someone until it's just like all out there, for everybody to see. And like, I knew he had, a slightly unfortunate situation with his older brother. And I mean, you don't understand you don't understand the gravity of the situation until something, in some cases, something unfortunate happens. And it's just like, holy shit.
Holding back a lot with respect to his brother and his family in past seasons. It wasn't his story to talk about, but that still was having an effect on him and weighing on him. And that's what we were all seeing, is that effect, without understanding the reasoning, because he didn't feel, the need to talk about it, because it wasn't to tell.
And I think that's almost the beauty of being on a show like this, is because Carl for a while was getting sort of like the ladies man edit. And he was like, that was really the focus of his arc on the show, which again, like makes sense. The show is about mostly of like having fun during the summer, but the fact that Summer House has been able to go on for 5 seasons now, it's given not just Carl, all of you guys an opportunity to show a lot of different sides of yourself that we wouldn't have seen if the show had ended after those first 2 very different seasons. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so glad that the show got this almost second life. You know what I mean? And Bravo gave you guys a chance to really, again, now I feel like I know even you guys a lot better than I would have. You know what I mean? And I think that's that's really honestly special and a great opportunity to not just show that one side and to really kind of show your full life.
Show like Summer House where,
right.
You know, the focus is on the
partying
fun
and like
party.
having people.
We don't get those like slow paced, you know, multi-minute scenes where you're having these like big drawn out conversations. Ours is like boom, 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 party, weekend city. You know, it's just like sometimes I'm like, I mean, like I know it's an ensemble cast. I know we only get 42 minutes per episode to like tell a story among like 8, 9, 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you know, you're like, there's so much more.
Right. Totally. But it's like, I do think that we have, because it's been on for a while, we finally gotten to see these like glimmers. And I think also this summer, because we aren't checking back out, we're just fully checked in the whole time. I think that creates for it. And I think, you know, because of that, and I've said this, I think that Summer House is the best show on Bravo, like with a younger cast. Like, I think that like, for a while, it was, you know, Vanderpump Rules was sort of the king in that area. You know, Southern Charm had its heyday, but you know, I think that you guys have really kind of like usurped that title. And do you sense that? Do you sense that like the sort of conversation of the show has really been kind of elevated, enhanced, kind of reached fever pitch in some sort of way?
I don't. I mean, I grew up watching Vanderpump Rules and like OC and Beverly Hills and even Southern Charm. Real Housewives of OC.
Oh, I was like, OC wasn't real.
OG's OC. OC.
Also the OC, but yeah, next conversation.
Also, yes, and novels and all that. But no, I grew up watching those, and I, you know, when I'm like, I mean, filming, like I'm living my life as who I am, and I'm not comparing us to like the Housewives, but to Vanderpump and Southern Charm. You know, I never see like the life that I'm living to meet like the expectations of how amazing those two shows have been.
Right.
You know, this is like, I'm just like, this is my life. Like, this is what
goes
down.
Note, like, so I hadn't watched a lot of Bravo. All right. Any Bravo, actually, when I signed my contract. Literally zero Bravo.
I'm like, who wants to watch us?
Well, no, that's not what I was going with.
That's how I feel. I'm like, you guys are having fun?
So
a lot of people, it turns out.
I was like, I think it's actually really interesting that our show incorporates surveillance cameras. And particularly in this last season, there's no escape. Mm-hmm. What you see is what you get. Because in a way, like,
I think it's something Bravo fans had to get used to, was like this different version of a show. Sorry.
You had a couple drinks.
She's also she's the Bravo expert in this situation. Kyle, continue.
I'm saying from an outsider's perspective,
right.
I'm like, I was skeptical because I'm like, wait, how produced is this? How scripted is this? Like, I've got my like MBA. I'm not an actor. Like,
I'm like, you have no idea.
And I'm like,
Vicky.
Okay. Jesus, I don't even know who that is.
I know.
So listen, my whole thing was like, I think the reason the show had potential is because it like lifts up the curtain to something that was already existing, friendships that already, you know, had developed, and there was less opportunity to, you know, even look, our production company doesn't script and produce us, but when you're on a TV show long enough, a lot of people end up doing it themselves.
Yeah.
And our show doesn't really allow for that as much because, again, the tapes roll. So I was always like, I always was really, you know, long, you know, if we're going to talk stocks here, on what our show's potential could be, just because I'm like, if we have you know, interesting people that kind of embody that, like, work hard, play hard, you know, like lifestyle where, you know, we're dynamic, we've got a lot going on. I'm like, how could that not be interesting? So I think we're just kind of hitting our stride. And, you know, like I said, there's only so many minutes in an episode. And I feel very fortunate that we've gotten to where we're at. So
I know. It makes me very excited too. So wrapping up, it's like, you know, I feel like we have the season 5 and you guys have a lot of things in your life that are on the precipice. I mean, Loverboy is continuing to grow. I know that you guys you have an exciting launch of espresso martinis, which makes me extremely excited. Kyle, I told you that before we started recording.
Yeah. So
we'll have to send you some.
I was like, we drank enough espresso martinis on and off the show that I'm like, by golly, we're going to do it. And we're going to do it direct to consumer.
It's so
Are they
fun
in a can?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so fun to see people tweeting about, do you have one?
Oh my God, Johnny. Here we go, baby.
It's so fun to see people tweeting about like, what's like with reality TV and espresso martinis. And like, meanwhile, we've had one like, produced this whole time.
For the last 20 years.
We've had one made this whole time. And like, it's just been like a matter of like getting it like legally signed off on.
To market and all that, yeah.
Bring it to market. But people, I mean, it's the drink of.
It's going to be a craze. I mean, maybe that's why I love it so much. Like gorgeous. Look at that. The brown and gold is perfect. Wow.
Yeah. I thought
that's the next big chapter for Loverboy. Is that what we've been kind of working towards?
Yeah,
wow. So it's so like sleek.
12% alcohol versus like the 6%. What you're drinking.
Oh, so it'll get you. It'll get you effed up, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We say it's like you could make 2 martinis,
like a double,
in one can, but we like to drink it
in this group, right? So so we have a special martini coming up. Is there like a next iteration of Loverboy has coming?
Honestly, what we're just trying to do is expand, and a lot of people just don't understand. Like, hey, I can buy White Claw and Truly. Why can't I buy your sparkling hard teas? Well, those were like companies that are decades old, in some situations publicly traded. It just takes time. That's again part of the reason we launched these cocktails is so we could give something to people that want to try a Loverboy.
Absolutely.
So we're just going to continue to roll out new flavors and with our cocktails that we sell online, and then just continue to open up new markets with our teas.
Yeah, I think that the goal is to expand with the teas, but then to come out with new flavors for the spritz, because that's easier to make available.
Fast track, right? Exactly. And then personally, you guys obviously put your wedding on hold. On the show, you talked about kids. I saw you guys fostered a dog. Personally, what's on the horizon? What's the current wedding plan before we sign off?
So, we basically kind of went through the rigmarole. We postponed our wedding till June of this year. We just kind of finally got that A-OK from the venue owner as we started filming season 5. And, a couple months ago, there was like all sorts of talks about the vaccines not being anywhere near ready until the summer or maybe even fall. So we were like literally in this in limbo, will a June wedding that is at a venue with a minimum of 225 people inside happen? Well, by New Jersey state law, because we were actually going to get married in her home state. No.
Yeah.
So
it's a little bit up in the air right now. I mean, I think everyone understands. I think just people are so excited for that date. Obviously, you guys know that.
Yeah, I think we have. The event that we're doing with our family and friends is gonna be postponed till September, and we're doing it in my parents' backyard.
Love it. You got best of both worlds, honestly.
Yeah,
it's funny because this is if you count that as a venue, that'd be our 4th venue, because our first venue backed out because of filming. Newsflash. Our second venue, we had capacity constraints. They couldn't do 225. Our third venue was the one we landed on, but then COVID hit. And it's oh my God.
But I think I said it on Watch What Happens Live, and people have driven past our house, and I think someone sent my parents a letter in the mail being I heard your daughter's getting married in your backyard. Yeah.
So the excitement's already building. I love it. Well,
but it's building all over again.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like it was put on hold, but now we're ready. So Kyle and Amanda, it was so fun to catch up with you. I'm so glad we were able to do this on a Friday afternoon with our lover boys. This is delicious spritz.
I didn't know you'd have. What did you think of the passion fruit?
I think it's delicious. I like really sweet drinks. So, and I don't think it's too sweet for me. So I think it's great.
It's like a sweet tart.
Yeah. I'll let you guys know. I haven't had the other 2 yet, so I'll keep this afternoon. I'll just keep going.
Who's really ranking them? I want to see it on Twitter. I want to see your ranking of your spritz flavors.
Perfect. I'll tweet it at you guys. So before we go, where can people follow Loverboy and you guys to get more of the next drop? Because I know you're always coming up with something new.
Yeah. So if you go to on Instagram or on our web, drinkloverboy.com.
Drink Loverboy on Instagram and Twitter, and then we're actually at Loverboy on TikTok.
Apparently,
hey, you locked that down. That's a good
Apparently we're
username.
We got
talking.
like just Loverboy.
But
Wow.
I will say, if you go to our Instagram and you click text, like when we drop new merch, we drop new flavors, which all the time sell out. If you're on our text platform, like that's the easiest way to stay in the know.
That's when you get like
Got it.
the VIP.
That's the insider VIP. Love it.
You got
All
it.
right, well, Kyle Cooke and Amanda Batula. So it's always fun.
Thanks so much, Gibson.
Bye, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Catching up, man.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. For more celebrity interviews, subscribe to We Should Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you heard, please rate and review us, as any show of support you can give us would be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at Gibsonoma on Twitter and Instagram, and you can follow In The Know at In The Know on Twitter and at Watch In The Know on Instagram. We'll talk to you next time.